Welcome to Crushgasm, the podcast dedicated to the highs and sometimes lows of crushes. From their first to their worst, we're going to cover them all with a cascade of characters, including our guest today, someone who likes to give it to you straight, Shawn Jacobson, a podcaster, succubus, bunny mom, and overall bad bitch who's here to talk not only about her podcast, Tough Titties, but also a time she was hot for teacher. Shawn, how are you?
Hot for teacher is good.
How are you today?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm good. I'm glad to be talking to you. I think we've all had a crush on a teacher before, so this is like a common one. But I'm not going to keep people in suspense for too long. This wasn't, younger years. This was a crush you had on a teacher you had in college, and we're just going to refer to them as the professor.
Yes, the professor. So I'm only 23, so this was recent.
Okay. Now, before the professor, did you have a crush on any teachers growing up, like middle school, high school, anything like that?
Not like a super crush, but I was like, oh, he's kind of hot. But I wasn't like, oh, maybe he likes me too. I never thought that until college.
Yeah, for me, I had a big crush on my physics/psychology teacher in high school, and I wear glasses, and I totally said I couldn't see from the back of the room, so I had to sit by his desk.
You wanted to be closer?
Yeah, I was like, I can't see from back there, so I have to sit in the front. But back then, I was this fugly nerd. Nobody was But in the grand scheme, I was a remedial student when it came to sex-related things.
Okay.
And then your podcast, it would have made me blush back in the day because it's
really,
yeah, it's very well back in the day. I was very innocent and everything.
I was too. I was a prude in high school.
Oh, so how did so when this crush came about in college, were you blossoming into your sexuality and everything?
Yes. In high school, I really wasn't. I mean, I thought guys were hot and stuff, but I didn't know how to talk to them. I got really nervous around them, and I didn't have my first kiss until I was a sophomore in high school. So I was 16, which was a lot later than my friends, but when you think about it, it's really not that old. But so I kind of was just nervous around them. And then when I lost my virginity, I was like, oh, sex is interesting. And then I kept trying it, and then I ended up liking it, and then I kind of just went from there, and I wasn't so scared anymore.
Now, was the professor an older guy, or that who'd been at the university, had tenure, or was it an up and coming student teacher situation?
Yeah. So he was an up and coming student teacher. He was my French teacher, and how my school did it was a lot of the teachers who taught the younger levels of a language were they had a student teacher do it for them instead of an actual professor. So I think at the time he was 24 and I was 20 or 21.
So it wasn't he wasn't 60.
No. I mean, I do older guys, but 40 is my limit. 43.
40.
An even 20 years.
Okay. Well, my parents are about 20 years apart.
They are
not together, but hey, they mated twice, so I have a brother.
I mean, sometimes age gaps they happen. So I mean, I don't judge, but I think that's because I enjoy a good age gap.
Yeah, my dad's in his 80s now, and he just told me last weekend he could still pull any woman he wanted to.
Oh, God.
He is a player, has about 15 kids.
What? Really?
Yeah, shout out to my dad.
Wow, that's awesome.
Was this your first legitimate crush on a real adult man? Because when you're in high school, you think they're grown, but they're mentally 12.
Well, yeah, I mean, he was only a few years older than me, and he didn't act or seem that much older than I was, but yeah, if I had to put a label on him, I would probably label him as an adult, but a young adult, you know?
Because like in college, I feel like the difference is like in high school, if you like you were you said a prude and I was like remedial, and I wasn't, when I liked someone, it wasn't like, oh, we can definitely hook up and everything. That wasn't even a thought. But once you get to college, that's definitely in the playbook. So was that in your mind at that time too? Like, man, this guy could be someone I hook up with for sure.
Yeah, I thought we were going to fall in love, so so yeah, the sex thing kind of came with it, but it was tricky because like I am a rule follower, so I was like, I don't know, is this like messed up if I try and weasel my way into him? Well, that was a weird thing to say, like weasel my way. You know what I mean? Yeah, so I was a little worried about that, but I knew he was flirting with me and I was flirting with him back. At one point he added me on Snapchat and like followed me on Instagram, which I feel like a regular professor would not do that. That's like really crossing the line. But I think because he was also a student at my school as well, it made it a little less weird.
Okay, well, what was it about the professor that led him to own your heart and your hormones for a couple of semesters?
That's a good question. I think my first impression of him, I was very surprised that was what I was going to get as a teacher. I was really not expecting like a hot 24-year-old French man to be my professor. So I think the sudden shock of that was like, ooh, okay, here we go. Let's do this. And he was just like he was very good with banter. He was also a very good teacher, and also French, it's just a hot language. So I liked listening to him talk.
I was gonna say, I mean, he was teaching French, like if it's biology or something, like a boring subject, I think maybe it wouldn't have been as hot.
Yeah, no, I think listening to him talk definitely helped, because he actually has like a French accent because he's from France.
Oh.
Yeah, so I was like, okay, I guess this is what it's gonna be. And I have a thing for blondes, and he's blonde, so
I spent
was
like
just the package.
So many years because Nick Carter was my first love. So blonde hair, blue eyes. I was like, yep. And you said like you feel like he may have reciprocated the feelings. I mean, he was following you on Snapchat, Instagram. Was he making other kind of moves? Was he leaving you notes on your homework? Did he slide into your DMs ever?
So in class, we would always have like banter back and forth in front of the class, and I think people thought we were flirting with each other. And I made a friend in that class, and she was always like, Shawn, I think he likes you. And I'm like, okay, cool, I think he likes me too. And I also was really good at French, so I would do well on my tests and my homework. And yeah, he would leave like, great job, Shawn, with like a heart or something. But I don't know if he was putting that on other people's tests and stuff, so I'm not sure. But in the moment I was like, oh my god, that is so cute, he loves me. But
you didn't check other people's papers, just like kind of side-eye?
Okay, like everyone else was kind of dumb.
Oh. like
no one was doing as well. And I think that's another reason why he liked me, was because I was also a good student. So he knew that I had a brain and I was like using it and paying attention to him. And then he did message me. We would talk on Snapchat, which is kind of weird, because I was like, okay, I'll see you tomorrow. We didn't talk about like the Snapchat thing or anything in class, but we would talk via Snapchat sometimes. Sometimes it was just in regards to like French class, but sometimes we would talk about like other stuff. Nothing like crazy flirty, like there were no unsolicited nudes or anything like that.
Darn.
I know, right? But yeah, there was definitely flirting. What do you think?
I think that's flirting. I think it's
Okay.
to talk to people like outside of class like that. I mean, he didn't have to.
Right, exactly.
Now, I think you mentioned like the ethics of it all. Did you ever like research your school's guidelines about the matter?
Don't think so. I don't think so, because I was kind of scared. I should have, but we never got to the point like, hey, let's hang out outside of class, because I would see our French class was 4 days out of the 5 days of the week. So I saw him every day, and that was like enough to get me by, I guess. So we never asked each other to hang out. But after my French class ended, like a new semester, and he wasn't my teacher anymore, he would ask me to hang out, but it never happened.
Oh no.
I know.
Well, like the ethics part, I think like a lot of TV shows I watch have like dived into student-teacher relationships. Like it's been on Grownish and Shameless, and both those shows kind of highlighted relationships like student-teacher that are very popular in like porn realms. I mean, like the male with the male, or it's a lesbian relationship. Why do you think that dynamic's big and we never see a female student and a male teacher in that?
I think it's all about like stereotypical power play that people like. So I think that a lot of people, you know, when they're watching porn, for example, a lot of people like to see the power play going on, and stereotypically it's, you know, the male is the dominant one and the female is the submissive one. And I think that, you know, porn likes to play on those stereotypes that we have in our head. And same thing with, you know, regular TV and movies and stuff. When we see the teacher student type of thing, I think it's because, you know, it's kind of a fantasy. We like things that we can't have, and that, you know, a teacher student dynamic usually is not allowed.
Yeah, not in the younger, but in college, there's some, I think, lines that can be blurred. As long as it's not they're married or something, then I think it's okay. And once you're not in their class, I think if you're in their class, because I remember on Saved by the Bell, college years, Kelly did go for her professor.
Yeah, well, that's what it is. It's like when I was in his class, I was like, I feel like if this goes anywhere, it's going to get messy. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It's just like you can get in a lot of trouble, I think, because people will think I'm doing it for the grades or whatever, but I'm just smart. I didn't need his help.
Yeah, like look at everyone around me. They're just dumb.
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know. It was just, it's a weird, I think it was the age too, because he was younger, it felt more comfortable, more normal, but I was like, he does have this power over me because he is my professor and he can give me grades. I think that's where it can cross the line. But, you know, once I was out of his class, I think I could have hung out with him.
Yeah, I mean, you left his class. You said the crush only lasted like a couple semesters. Like, what happened with the crush? Like, why didn't you go after him after you got your final grade?
Yeah.
Like, final, gave him your number? Like,
I think I was nervous. I think I wanted him to initiate it, and it didn't happen. And then I also started hearing rumors about him that he had in the past hooked up with like a male student, and I was like, oh, is he gay? Like, I'm confused.
Oh.
But I think he is maybe bi-curious. I don't know. I haven't asked him his sexual orientation, but I don't know if he's, you know, fully bisexual or not, or if, you know, it was just he was experimenting. But the word on the street is he was hanging out with a male student at one point.
Okay.
Yeah, things get interesting.
So have you lurked him online since then? Kept in touch?
Yeah. I actually just spoke to him recently. And he said that he listened to one episode of my podcast, and he was like, yeah, I can't listen to Shawn talking about this stuff. It's like, what? But yeah, we just kind of caught up with what what we're doing career-wise and stuff like that, and it was nice. And he was like, yeah, I'll try and help you find a job type of thing. And I was like, cool, let me know if you find anything. But it wasn't super flirty, but we do follow each other on Instagram, and I still have him on Snapchat. But I'm in Florida and he is in the Northeast, so it's not gonna work out.
No, can't make that distance work, especially if he might have a guy, might have a boyfriend
or a girlfriend. I don't know.
He'll have a friend. He has a friend.
I'm sure he does. I think the French are known to be very sexual people.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Well, he's proven it right.
Yeah.
Well, that was only your sophomore year. Were there any other student teachers that caught your attention after that?
No, he was the only good-looking one that I had. All the other ones were no. They were not. They were too nerdy for me. He was very beautiful. And I remember when he first walked in on the first day, I was like, holy shit. And I tried to take a secret picture of him so I could show my friends, guys, look, this is my French teacher. But I got it. I got the picture. But yeah, no one else that was, a student teacher or anything was, super attractive or attractive at all, at least in my opinion. So I kind of started looking outside of the professor realm.
Nobody 20 years older either.
No, that's actually a new thing for me, after college thing for me.
Oh. Yeah, I think the oldest person I've ever been with, they were, maybe only 14 years older.
Mm-hmm. How old were you at the time?
28.
Okay, what's the math?
I don't know.
I'm haven't been in school in a while. You're 28 plus 14. What is that, 42?
Yeah, they were too much older. I think that's a good age range.
Listen, it's just we can go that much older because women are just so much more mature. That's just what it is. Mm-hmm. We can get along with people or with men 20 years older than us because their brain has just fully developed. Yeah, they just got there.
For sure. That's probably just what my dad's doing. Mentally, he's 40, but
well, yeah, that's the thing. It takes them a long time. And we get there when we're 13.
I know. I'm right. It's I can plan my whole life by 14, and a 14-year-old in your class is poop, and you're oh. All right. But you also think that 14-year-old's it's your crush, and you're God, why? Why do I like this? Do you ever lurk your middle school crushes?
Yeah, I only had one middle school crush, and I liked him throughout the whole thing, and he was my best guy friend. He was my best male friend. And 6th grade he was ugly, and then 7th grade something happened and he got cute, and I was oh wait, did I just fall in love with my best friend? That's not good. And then all of my girlfriends also liked him at the same time, and we were guys, I have to tell you something. And one of us was let's just say his name's John. I like John. And I was wait, I like John. And then one other girl was wait, I like John. And then it was just we all liked him. So it wasn't the best.
Did anyone ever date him, or was there kind of well, we all like him, so
we tried to make a pact, okay, whoever he goes for, we'll just have to let it happen. And he didn't go for any of us.
Oh. Like,
But
let fate decide. And then fate was like, none of you.
Yeah, pretty much. But that was probably for the best. And I did like him, like, also in my freshman year of high school. And then he kind of just got, I don't know, you know how some guys are just so immature, well, that we were just talking about, and you're just like, ew, what happened? And I think because like we were at the same level when we were in middle school, but then once I got to high school, I matured a lot, and I was like, your behavior grosses me out. So yeah, I kind of got over that, but we're still like in a friend group, but I don't look at him like that anymore. But funny enough, 2 years ago on New Year's Eve, we were all together and we kissed as like a joke, but it wasn't like a make out, like it was just like a quick little like pop kiss. And I was like, oh my God, my middle school self is like screaming right now.
You're like, fate, he picked me.
No, but I was like, I just feel good that I got to do that for her. And by her, I mean my younger self.
You're like, congrats, 13-year-old Shawn.
Yes. I was very happy.
You know, I like the same kid from 6th to 8th grade, and then once 9th grade hit, I don't think I was writing about this the other day. I was like, I never thought about him again. We graduated together. I'm still friends with him today, but I'm like, where did he go in high school? Why did I stop liking him? No clue. And then I realized he dated this girl, this goth 8th grade, that I was just like, really? And it wasn't that she was goth. I was just like, because goths were cool. I was friends with them. But I was like, that girl?
You didn't go goth because of that?
No, I always like my friend in 6th grade. I met her. She was like super Spice Girled out, and then the next year came and she was super goth. And I was just her little teeny bopper friend, and we just remained. And my best friend was like all Lincoln Parked out, like
oh my goodness,
dollars, and I was just like me. I would wear like Hot Topic clothes, but not in the sense where it was like all black or anything.
Yeah.
I wasn't that hardcore into it.
Middle school's a weird time.
I got the wild west of your life, and it's only a few years, but it's like the most formative.
It's bizarre.
I love
so many hormones going on in that little middle school.
I know, like you're going through the puberty, but then everyone feels so awkward, but nobody talks about it. You know, until years later.
Oh God!
Or you're like hanging out, and you're like, oh, you felt weird then too. It's like I wish we could go back and redo it in a way.
You know what really kills me is like the people that are in middle school now are not. They have no awkward face. Like they're cute, and I'm like, that's not how this works. You're supposed to be ugly.
Yes,
from 6th to 8th grade.
Fashion mod, like you see their Instagram, and you're like, what? Like
I'm like, how are you 13? I literally looked like a shark when I was 13 because my teeth were everywhere.
I always say I look like the kid for that guy from The Blind Side in a skirt.
What kid?
That big old black guy in the Blind Side with Sandra Bullock.
You think like, you look like her?
Like, no, like the boy, like just like big, broad, like
oh my gosh.
Like the Gross Sisters and Proud Family, like just very bad. So I don't blame my crush for not liking me. I see it. It was just
like I understand, but it's still rude.
They're also really accepting nowadays. Like I feel like there is no bullying, which is good, but like there's no, I don't know, there's that little hierarchy of middle school. I feel like kind of makes you who you are for a while. And they don't have that. They're just all like lovey-dovey and everything, which is good for them. We'll see how it pans out in 10 years time.
I'm sure it'll be better than us.
Oh, for sure. I know, we're like my generation for sure. I was like 99. I was in 6th grade. I was like,
I was born in 98.
Oh, you're kind of on the cusp of a millennial.
Yeah, I don't know what I am. I'm confused. I don't know which one I lay into.
So it's kind of like you had the Hannah Montanas.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's a cusp. You're either an elder Gen Z or like a fetus millennial.
Yeah.
Either or, you're right there.
Yeah.
So back to the professor.
Okay, here we go. Back to the professor.
So if things had panned out and you had dated, how do you think your lives would have been?
Oh my God.
In a fantasy world, how would that have panned out?
Oh my God. Well, I would have loved for him to take me to France to meet his family and like talk to them in French. And I don't know. I've never been to Europe, so it would be good to go with someone who grew up there and like knew all the places to go that weren't just tourist spots. So I would definitely make him take me to France. Who knows where we would be living? Probably like a city or something, because we're both young-ish and that's usually where people go. Hopefully, you know, we would have gotten married. Not yet, I'm too young, but like 28. So give me 5 years, we would have gotten married and maybe we'd have a little French American baby. It would be really cute. I will say that.
Would you give your baby like a French name? French sounding?
No.
No little Jacques.
No, because I would sound really dumb saying my own kid's name because I'm not so good at doing the French accent. Mm-hmm. So I would sound really stupid saying my own kid's name.
You'd be at the mommy and me classes like, Jack. You're like, it says Jacques. And you're like, yeah, it's Jack. Oh, we're here.
It's Jack for short. Yeah. I mean, but ultimately, I think that would probably be my goal with anybody that I end up with is just I would like to get married and have a baby or 3 and see what happens.
Good sounding plan. Very good. Now it's time to dive into those tough titties. What were you doing before you like got into podcasting?
Okay, so I graduated from said university with said professor in May of 2020, which we all know that was like peak COVID. So before COVID came around, my plan was to have a job secured before I graduated. That way I could graduate, you know, be home for like a week or 2, you know, and see my mom and stuff, and then head out and start my life. But that didn't work. So in March of 2020 is when things kind of went awry, right? So my spring break, my school was like, you guys are going to get an extra week of spring break and we'll let you know if you're going to come back or not. We need to figure out what's going on with this COVID stuff. And basically they said, don't come back. So I've been home living with my mom since March of 2020, which is another story. I mean, I love her, but it's hard going from like going to college by yourself, living by yourself, and then living with your mom. It's very different. But so I finished up school in my childhood bedroom and I graduated in my living room. And then I didn't think that COVID was going to have such an impact at the time. Like I understood it was serious, but I was like, like I'll get a job. But it really impacted the entertainment industry. I went to school for television, radio, and film. So LA got hit pretty hard. And so I kind of just kept like waiting it out, trying to find a job. And then by January, I was like, all right, I am bored. Like, I need something to do. I'm just sitting here in my house, like waiting for a job to sit in my lap, and it's not happening. So I actually had this idea to do a podcast for about a year before that, and I just never pulled the trigger on it because I was, you know, super busy with finishing up school. And then, yeah, I was like, okay, I guess this is the perfect time to do it. I have all the time in the world. So yeah, and that's kind of how it came to be. I just was bored. I had the idea but never had the time to really do it. And COVID, although it didn't, allow me to have my plans go through that I had in the beginning, it did allow me to have the time to make this podcast and go through with this idea that I've had for a long time that I just didn't have the time to fulfill.
How wild was it finishing like your senior year of college during that craziness? That's just
it sucked. Yeah.
I can't even imagine.
Yeah, it definitely sucked because, there's a lot of like senior stuff that we didn't get to do. But, and I didn't get I got a graduation, but not like a real one. Mm-hmm. And now they're trying to give us one in September. And I'm like, do I even bother going? I'm so far removed from my graduation. You know what I mean? So I got to decide if I'm going to go to that. But yeah, I mean, it definitely sucked. It was hard going from in-person classes to going to school via Zoom, because the professors at the time didn't know how to teach over Zoom. Mm-hmm. So it was kind of like a learning curve for both of us, the students and the professors. But I kind of enjoyed being home with my mom, and my sister also came home too. So it was nice for a little reunion for a while. And then
for a while.
But that while has been like a long while, and I'm kind of ready to, get out of here. And my mom's like, so find any jobs? And I'm like, I'll let you know. Okay. Like, I'm trying. But it's hard. It's a lot harder than I thought it would be. But, I'm at least fortunate that I have my mom to live with for now.
Yeah, for sure. Like, I'm always like, oh my God, if this would have happened when I was in college, like, my mom still doesn't have the internet to this day. So that would have been a whole, like, she didn't know how emails work. She thinks they're
oh my gosh,
things that go in the computer. I don't even know. So I
love it.
That would have been a mess. Like, I probably would have had to stay with my best friend's family because they have a real house. And yeah, I was like, just like everything. I was like, oh my God, I can't imagine. So kudos to the class of 2020 and 2021.
Yes.
Yeah. And hopefully all the students can go back this fall. Hopefully. I hope for them. My mom is like, please, because I have my nephew that will be in 4th grade.
Yeah.
He's like, she does not want to hear the teacher in Zoom, and she swears too much. My nephew's like, Grandma, you can't say that.
Yeah, that would be me if I had a kid right now.
Yeah, it's just like, shh, you can't say it. And then Grandpa's cussing about something else. Like,
Grandpa, stop.
But like you said, like the pandemic and everything, the little silver lining was it did give us a lot of time to do things. I started my podcast during it. You started yours. So like, I mean, a little good came from it. We had time.
Yeah, for sure.
And in the recent weeks, you've had everyone from relationship astrologers. Didn't know that was a thing. Like bondage experts to a breakup coach. Another thing. Didn't know that existed.
I wish I did. When I was going through a breakup, I would have bought whatever she was given.
Like, how do you find these like guests? Because I don't even know these are like careers.
Yeah, I find these people majority on Instagram, actually. A lot of these people follow each other, so it's kind of just a dark rabbit hole you go through. So you find someone that you're like, oh, this breakup coach, cool, and then you go through her followers and you find someone that looks cool there, and it just keeps going on, and kind of that's how I find people. There's an endless amount of people in like the relationship, dating, sex world. So I just keep my eyes open for anybody that looks interesting to bring on, because I'm by no means an expert. I just like talking to these people and learning, because I personally find, relationships and sex super interesting, but I don't know everything, and I would like to know as much as I can. So talking to these people and asking them questions that people have asked me that I don't know the answer to, is kind of where I'm going with it. And it's just bringing a lot of different perspectives, breakup coach to a kink educator. Like, you can find it all on Tough Titties.
You went to school for entertainment, but do you think this podcast might inspire you to go in a different direction career-wise?
Okay, I have actually, as of right now, I would love to be able to build Tough Titties into a business, because I would love to work for myself. But I also have been doing research on how I could become either a sex educator or a sex therapist. I'd probably have to go back to school for that. So I don't really know if I'm going to do that. But yeah, I've definitely looked into, the more helping people side of things, or the educational side of things. But I'm happy with where I am right now. But if I ever start to get bored podcasting, then that might be where I would go to next. Yeah.
And you mentioned LA. Is that where you're trying to head for your career?
I think eventually that is probably where my final destination would be LA. But I am open to, Atlanta has a lot of TV stuff going on. Nashville has a lot of music stuff going on. Like, I'm happy to stay on the East Coast for now because LA is very expensive. So I would be fine. I would be fine staying on the East Coast and, making money and saving, and then eventually head out to LA when I have when I'm not an entry level position, and I can actually feed myself.
You don't need 75 roommates or something like that.
Right. Yeah. It's just living in LA is very expensive. Everything's expensive. And when you're entry level, you just don't make enough money to live. Mm-hmm. So I would prefer to stay on the East Coast, at least where it's a little bit cheaper, and I could hopefully save and then bring my ass over to California when I'm at the senior level.
That's a good plan. It's a good plan.
I think so.
And you're very young, you graduated, so you still got a lot of time.
I know. It's hard to remember that though. When you're in the moment, you're like, shit, I don't have a job. I'm such a loser.
No, Kate.
But I'm literally 23 and I'm trying.
And you finished school during a freaking pandemic. You need a break.
Thank you.
Right. I was like, I don't know how I get in touch with this President Biden, but I think we just all need a year to just be on holiday. And that's just, maybe do it in sessions.
No, we all need free therapy.
Oh, that's another one. I was doing an interview yesterday and we said the 4th of July, we're just going to all take mushrooms, go outside and just scream and just do our thing. And
have our goodness. Have you done mushrooms before?
No. I just pot for now. But I just got into the last couple of years. I was very innocent. My brothers, I'm a middle child and both my brothers smoke. And I was always ew, guys, no. And I didn't drink until my senior prom, my prom.
Oh my gosh. You are way more innocent than me.
I know. On Friday, my friends were going out on Friday and I just they were cool. And I was I'm going to stay home and watch Reba.
No, you were just good. Which is what most parents want.
My mom was when I came home from prom, she's did you drink? Did you have, she was so excited for it.
Oh, that's cute.
You never do anything.
She was probably so ready to hold your hair back in the toilet.
Because she's so used to my brothers who are just rebellious as can be. I stand like a Lisa Simpson in between two Barts. So that's me.
Oh.
Well, on your show, like you said, you have all these types of guests, and it seems like there's not a topic you won't discuss, but is there a topic you won't touch, or are you free for all?
No, I think I'm free for all. There's nothing that comes to mind right now that I'd be hell no, I won't talk about that.
And like, who do you have coming up later this summer? Do you have any guests lined up?
Yeah, I have a relationship expert, a sex therapist. I have a therapist in Australia. I did his show and he's going to come on mine. He's really cool. Who else do I have? I have some, let's see. I have an erotic, I do.
Everybody does.
Yeah, I have an erotic communicator. So she's a phone sex operator. But yeah, those are some of the people that I have in the works right now. So I am very excited to see about other people that I'll have on the show one day and talk about literally whatever. Nothing's off limits. I love talking about sex and relationships.
Do you have like any dream guests?
Ooh. Yeah, actually, I really would love Dr. Drew. I don't know if you've heard of him, or Emily Morse.
I've never heard of her.
Emily Morse has had a show on Sirius XM for like 15 years apparently, or something like that. And she is a doctor of sexology, something like that. Like, she knows what she's talking about is what I'm trying to say. And she has a podcast called Sex with Emily, and she has people call in and be like, hi, my penis doesn't work, what should I do? Or I want to have like a threesome with my wife, how do I bring it up to her? Stuff like that. So I'd love to talk to her. And then Dr. Drew, he's just really smart, and I love to hear him talk about like the psychology behind why we do things in relationships, or why we do things when it comes to like sexual relations and stuff like that. So I would love to have both of them on at some point.
Yeah, and he just got into the podcast game in the last few years as well.
Yeah.
My husband loves Tom Segura, so I always see whatever's on his channel. So can you tell people where they can find you online?
Yes. Okay. So if you guys want to follow my Instagram for the podcast, it is at the Tough Titties Podcast. My personal Instagram is at Shawn Jacobson. My Twitter is at Tough Titties Pod. And you can find Tough Titties on anywhere that you listen to podcasts, whether it be Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, all that good stuff. And then I also love when people email me or DM me with questions or stories or tips at toughtittiespod@gmail.com.
Well, Shawn, maybe I'll email you a question.
Yes, email me.
Well, Shawn, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me about your teacher crush today.
Oh, thank you for having me.
You can find all of Shawn's information below. And until next time, keep crushing it.